chaos and the lack of confidence can keep you from achieving anything, even when you've experienced routine. Let me repeat that. Chaos and the lack of confidence can keep you from pursuing a routine, especially when it's been disrupted and there's a lack of support. So what am I talking about? I was proud and I am proud to say that from January this year up till September, I went live for the first month, I think once a week at least, and later on twice a week at least, which was on StreamYard and on Instagram. On Monday and Wednesday, I would go live. And then when in September, when I went to Chicago, it stopped. And I couldn't pick it back up again until, I suppose, a few weeks ago. It's not that I didn't go live in Chicago. I've recorded tons and tons of videos and I had an amazing time of my life. But looking back, something did happen. I didn't go live anymore. Basically because I was too tired and because we did a lot of recordings during the first weeks, and we is Joe and me, and Joe often went live with me. It's sort of her willingness to cooperate, it died. More things were the cause of this. And once we got back, it was kind of hard to get in the routine again. She basically got it was more than a cold. She got really sick. So her throat was acting up. And later on I realized that, I wasn't going live with Michael anymore. He had to go to all these doctor's appointments. And when I was in Chicago, it was really hard to combine it all. So that was the second thing that fell, that made my routine disappear. Evan Carmichael, prior to me going to Chicago, had been on his gaming channel like 3-4 times a week. That had gone, Terry had gone, and all of a sudden I wasn't going live anymore. So what happened was, when I was in Chicago, I got this new toy. It's actually this little toy. It's kind of cool. It's my DJI mic, my microphone. And you just saw it go on. And I used it a lot in Chicago. And it was good sound quality. I haven't put them all together yet. I did a few lives on Instagram. But when I returned, I wanted better, more professional equipment. I was looking for that microphone. So I actually have a microphone over there. It's from Zoom. It's podcast mic. But I didn't know what I needed in order to actually get that better quality. So when I got back from Chicago, my Wi-Fi had changed, and I'm pointing in that direction because that's where the Wi-Fi comes from. And I was listening on StreamYard, and there were a lot of glitches. And I said, I'm going to do podcasts. And that's the first thing I already talked about doing a podcast when I went to Chicago the whole month of September. And then when I got back, it just didn't happen because I was listening to the StreamYard and I was like, I can't use this. And that was the whole thing. I was like, if I'm going live twice a week anyway, I can use it for my podcast. And I couldn't because the sound, it was horrendous. So it took a week, I don't know, maybe a little less, for the Wi-Fi was back to normal again. So basically what happened, it was upgraded, but they had used a setting, and as a result it started going up and down, and now it's being enhanced on this side, and it's way better. But the microphone, it was like, I need a microphone that's working, but how? What do I need? So fast forwarding to Black Friday, I got myself some new goodies, some new toys. and hi Peter. And I got this Zoom streaming thing, and I was like, okay, well, when I have the Zoom streaming thing, that's going to work. And then it said, yeah, it's going to work when you use your iPad and your iPhone, but not when you want to use it on your MacBook. Okay. So then I found this other thing. It was from Samsung. It was a satellite microphone. Kind of cool USB plug. Yeah, I know it's not the quality when using XLR cables. And a lot of people are going to say, boo, why are you even considering this? But I was like, yeah, going to try it anyway. So the first 2 times it was nice. Hey, Peter, if you want to get in, please do. But also that very first time, I already realized that when I was under 20% battery power, then the microphone stopped working. There were all these glitches in Instagram, and it was over and done with. But I had it in my mind. I had gotten all this equipment. I actually got some other stuff as well. But I also had to figure out how it worked. And that's what I've been doing the last couple of weeks. I've been trying to figure out, okay, how can I get it to work? Which is actually quite exciting. So far, I've realized that I can use the Zoom microphone and the Zoom box together, the AMS-24. However, I don't hear any difference. So is that going to work? I tried the Samsung microphone. No such luck. I need to return it. It just doesn't work anymore. And I also, I got to understand how to work with the microphones and the monitoring and hearing yourself. And where am I back at? This little thing, which is my sound core. And in there are my earplugs. So I only use one because it's too distracting. But I'm here again, so that's good. Now, what else happened when I was in Chicago? I had space around me. Yeah, I shared a room with Joe, and we were a unit together. So we had a certain rhythm, which was also connected to wanting to see Chicago PD. But there was space, and we could move around. And I would usually clean up the kitchen. She would more clean up the bathroom. You know, we each had our own things. We did laundry together. And I have to say, there is something so nice about going on a holiday with a friend who knows how all these things work. So you both know, okay, we have the same rhythm. And there I was, full of it. I'm going to do the podcast. I am going to use all those videos, and I literally have taken so many pictures and videos of people also who were there, and I was like, yeah. And I'm also going to do a challenge. Well, the challenge was pretty quickly when I got back. I was okay. It's going to be the cleanup challenge. Why cleanup? Because for the last 2 years, maybe longer, there has been chaos in my mind. And having seen how things were different in Chicago, being able to walk around, so this space is filled up with stuff. There's tons of stuff in here, which is the result of, well, various circumstances, but one primarily is my mom passed away, which is almost 2 years ago. Then almost a year ago, the house got sold, and I couldn't emotionally distance myself from her stuff and my dad's stuff, you know. It all went too quickly, and I was like, hey, but I do have the Christmas tree, and I really want to put it here in this room. So when I returned from Chicago, I was like, oh my God, look at that. I want to change this. I want to be able to walk again and do all the stuff. But like I said, I also wanted to do that podcast. I also wanted to do the challenge, and neither happened. And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? Well, I already told you a thing or two. So what went on was the 2 people I went live with, they didn't go live with me anymore. due to circumstances. I was worried about the quality, because what's the use of recording something when someone doesn't want to listen to it because they were click, 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 you know? And so I had to change that part. And then, I don't know, it was as if the whole routine was gone. And it basically what had happened was the support system was gone. There was no more support system. The support system I had was probably based on me being the one going out there. And when I didn't do it anymore, no one did. So that didn't stop me from looking for better things. But you know, with the whole new equipment, like I talked about, with the microphones, with the DAWs, so those audio boxes, which improve the quality of everything. But it does take a lot of time to figure it out. And I guess when I came back, the one thing, you know, I said it already previously in this video. Evan Carmichael is someone who is a very driving force, at least for me. He is the one who knows all about YouTube. And it started basically with someone here in the Netherlands, Ilke de Boer. Then I discovered Brandon Burchard, and then when I was at one of Brandon Burchard's conferences, there was Evan Carmichael. So every Thursday he goes live. Actually, he goes live twice, and usually I'm around. I usually don't skip at all, and it gets me going. You know, being in that vibe. My time 4:30 till 6, and then again from 8 till 9 really helps to say, okay, I'm going for it. I'm going to do whatever it takes and what's needed. But that moment when all that support was gone, because he didn't go live anymore in between with the games, and whenever we talked on Thursday, he sort of said, well, if there's something you want to add, well, I'll go see you on the gaming channel. And I used that gaming channel to go, well, not to go live, but to talk when he was live with him and ask him questions, and it worked really well. And then that stopped too. And that made it hard. So there I was, wanting to do the challenge, wanting to do the podcast. Podcast didn't work out. Challenge, however, was something I'd done before. So there was always this, it's a whole lot of technical stuff which actually got in my way. It's not just, but there was. So it was, okay, so people say if I want to do it, I do a challenge, then I need something to offer. I need to do upsell, one-click upsell. So basically what it comes down to is people register for free, they get a little something, and then you say, you know, if you want to do more with speaking up and speaking out, and you want to regain your confidence, you know, by focalizing yourself and knowing how to communicate so you don't end up hurting yourself and harming others in the process, in the long run, then join the challenge or get me to coach you so you can achieve what you didn't think it was possible. So prior to going to Chicago, I'd done the challenge, got new clients, which was pretty cool. And then when I was there, it was all a little bit chaotic. But the next challenge for me had to be linked to something more, the next step in a professional level. So the next step was the podcast with better sound, but it was also, and including using a microphone, but it also had to do with okay, if I want to make a really good living, not just a decent living, but really good living, then I need to change things. And that's where I was stuck, because technically I was like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Then again, that's where that support system, which you need. So Evan is very good at saying, just do it. There's no such thing as perfectionism, and it's better to get out there than not do it at all. And in the long run, you're going to have fun, watching back how things were. And I think he's right. He's totally right. And this month, there was a little addition. We always have a topic every month, and we are the Movement Maker family. So Evan has this program called the Movement Makers, and we tend to go live together, do collaborations and all that stuff. And that's also how I started going live in January to begin with, after having watched someone else called Zenderman having done it 3 days a week for 4 months in a row, September up till January. At some point, I said to Evan, this is not going the way it's supposed to be. I want to do all these things, but I'm stuck. I'm stuck because I feel I need to do this upsell. And yes, I can get that link out there for the CleanUp challenge, but then more is expected of me. And I'm not good at getting that done. There's so much involved having to, doing so. And I was like, I know I can make it work if I need to. But then, so I looked at WordPress, which I usually use, and plugins, and I also looked at Kajabi, and then Kajabi came with, yeah, but where are your courses and the other stuff that you are going to sell, and that basically applied for WordPress as well. And then of course it was, that was until Black Friday came along. I saw a lot of good stuff passing by, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to buy some new stuff and see what I can do with it. So some of the things I already mentioned to you. There's other things that I've bought, but I still need to figure out the technical side. So I said to Evan, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not going live anymore. I used to go live like twice a week, and we would talk about, if you go live once a week, then make it 3 times a week. And if you go 3 times a week live, then you go to 7 days a week live, going live 7 days a week. And there are posts, and you can take tidbits of it and all that stuff. And I know. Brandon Burchard has this thing, he calls it viral circulosity. So it's easier to write it down. Viral circulosity. Well, something. It's about going viral, using things that you recycle again. That's basically what it comes down to. So I know what he wants, but I'm not good at listening back to all the stuff. Editing is one thing, but then the other. So combined with it, what also happened was every time I'd gone live, I couldn't, my brain was activated. So I would start editing straight away and get it all out there. And I wouldn't sleep anymore. So I would basically start sleeping when daylight set in. And when I was in Chicago, I was basically in Chicago time. It was so nice because I got up when it was daylight and I got to sleep when it was night. And I didn't want to change that. But then I got confronted with neighbors 2 doors down, and they are having a big party right now. So if you hear something in the background, that's them having a big party. But the result was that I was really on edge, and I was too distracted to do anything. So here I was, I wanted to do the CleanUp challenge, and I didn't do anything. It was like I was frozen completely stuck. I didn't go live anymore. I still haven't gone live on the Monday and the Tuesday since September, by the way, which says a lot because it's December right now. But I am going live here right now. And actually, having gone live previously, prior to this one, actually has got me going. And also not being able to go out because it's very slippery and one can wonder if it's safe to go outside, and also being distracted by what's happening 2 doors down, which I hear entirely around me. It's like as if I'm in a little corner of where, how do you call it when you go dancing somewhere? We call it a discotheque. Discotheque is probably the word, I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean. And I need something to distract me. And especially having been busy figuring out the technical stuff when it comes to the microphones and all the other things, that's something has changed. But also this, I am going to see Joe again in a week. I'm going to go to London. She lives in London, and she and her daughter and we are going to stay in a hotel. And what I've seen this last year, all the chaos, all the clutter of all the extra stuff, I don't want it anymore. I'm done with it. I was done with it when actually the moment that all the stuff came in, but I was more done with it when I returned from Chicago. I've said to myself, I want to get rid of all the stuff. When I am back, I don't want it here anymore. So in the meanwhile, I set up the link, CleanUp Challenge. I talked to Evan. I said, so I did it actually live, so I was sort of on the hot seat. And I said, I'm not doing it because I don't know how to do the upsell. And he said, just get it out there. Because what I want out of it basically is to do coaching with people. I love coaching people, whether it's one-on-one or doing group coaching. And the training can be done basically by going live, talking about it, and using it as training. So I don't necessarily need the upsell. And he's right, I don't. There was something else, though, which was nagging me. I have written this book years ago, a year ago. I updated it and I had it released on Amazon as an ebook. And I still would like to get it out there during Christmas as a paperback version. It would be so amazing. So, CleanUp Challenge. Why CleanUp Challenge? Well, basically, literally, because everything around me, for me, feels like clutter. Clutter leading to chaos. Not seeing the big picture anymore. Not seeing the overview. So, the challenge for me is to get back to calmness in my mind, in my surroundings, and getting organized. So, creative people tend to not be so organized. They tend to be pretty chaotic. I'm guilty of that too. But it's time for change. It's so time for change. And if I want to do the challenge with you, then I need to do it too. And I wanted to have this challenge done before Black Friday, which was the end of November. And here we are, halfway December. And I was like, it's a week up till Christmas. I'm just going to go and do the Christmas, the CleanUp Challenge. And maybe I'll call it the Christmas Challenge. I don't know. For now, it's the CleanUp Challenge. There's a link. You can follow it. CleanUp Challenge. And that feels good. It feels good because it's about having the experience of why are things not working and what can you do in order to make it work. Well, I've gone through all those stages and right now it's working. I So a year ago, I already posted things on what we call Marketplace. So that's an online platform for people so they can actually buy things for a low amount. Didn't work out really well, but I've started doing it again. And I'm like, if it's not going to work, I'm going to call what we call the recycle shop. So basically people can just go there, snoop around and get things for very little, because basically it's what people have left. And that helps. And I think the whole thing combined, so me actually now posting things, I got the first thing sold today, which was good. Got some other things sold, by the way, when I was in Chicago, which also took up a lot of space. But now, in the last months, really, going for it, looking at things. Do I really want this? Does it still have the emotional level? Can I take a picture? It helps. I cannot tell you how much it helps. And that's probably because I also have a goal in mind. I want to walk around. I want it to look more professional here, so I can really change it into a studio. So actually I started with it last year, and on the other side of the wall, I built sort of like a studio. Hey, Joe. But then when I had to move all that stuff out from my parents' house, all these glass negative ended up here, and postcards, which is very cool because they are of the old The Hague in the 1950s. And then it stopped again. But now, knowing that I'm going to see Jo, and yeah, she's here. She's not live with me, but she's here. I actually told her I have one goal, and that's when I return, I want all the clutter gone. So basically the result of being with her for 4 weeks in Chicago, having a routine with her, being able to walk everywhere without tripping over my feet, and yeah, seeing her again. And I don't want to get back into this mess one more time. I just don't. And what I do want is I want to take everything to the next level. So I already said to her, you need to let me know how I sound. Well, I shouldn't be sounding very differently because I got back to my old ways, which is the Soundcore ear something. This one. But yeah, it's, I'm trying. Earlier today, I literally recorded tons of videos using the different headphones, using the different microphones. Well, okay, it's not working. So we do something else that we know is working. And, just the mere fact that I can talk about it with someone again, and that I have something to work towards, that's making all the difference. Thank you. Sounds perfect. Well, I'm happy it is. I apparently there was no need to get all the microphones and all that stuff, because the sound is good as it is right now, which is awesome. So if you recognize what I talked about, wanting to change something, but not having been able to because of chaos in your mind, chaos around you, feeling the need to declutter, but needing the purpose in order to do it, then come and join me this week. So I'm going to start on Monday with the CleanUp challenge. I've already started. And I'm going to go live every day from now on because I like the vibe. I finally found it again. And yes, there's something linked to that too, which is called passion, because I actually love going live. And, well, talking about passion, since it's this month's topic from Movement Makers, and just having talked about something I really love to do, which has to do with using professional equipment to take pictures, but also doing other stuff, it just makes sense to go on. So hopefully you are going to join me with the cleanup challenge, I'll make sure that the link is going to be in the top of the description, the bio from Instagram, and otherwise you can find it in the text from YouTube. And when I am in London, then Joe and we are going to do a whole lot of series of videos. I'm going to take the DJI mic again, the one that I showed you before. She knows what it is. She probably hates the thing because there's one for me and one for her. So those are senders. There's a little receiver there. And we can talk about all the things that we basically recorded in Chicago, which we haven't posted yet. So there's, when I was talking about the being held back, one of those other things which I didn't mention, but which also was a reason, was when they were recording, we couldn't post. And in the Netherlands, we are running behind. So we just had the finale of season 9. I always say season 10, but I mean season 9 from Chicago PD. And when we were in Chicago, we actually watched the premiere of all the seasons. So season 10 of Chicago PD, season 11 of Chicago Fire, and I don't know, probably season 8 or 9. Joe will know, from Chicago Med. And it wasn't until I'd watched the finale that I was like, oh, and I was back at Molly's, the bar from Chicago PD. So people are wondering, what the heck is she talking about? One moment she's talking about equipment, and now she's talking about Chicago and Molly's bar and Chicago PD. Well, we were there and we were watching the premiere at the cafe, the bar that's shown in all the One Chicago shows. And the moment that I watched the finale, I was back there again. I was back there again in Chicago. I was there when when Brian Lucci, the producer, was recording on my phone, like, hey, what's happening today? Well, what's happening today is there's premiere. And I, of course, said, Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med. And it was like, we're talking about Chicago PD because he's the producer from Chicago PD. Being a former police officer, he guides them. And, well, you probably have figured out that those 4 weeks in Chicago with Joe, he was laughing at me, by the way, made a huge impact on me. It did, it was not just about the clutter that wasn't there and having to sort things out, packing, unpacking, packing again. We've done it heaps of times because we were supposed to leave, and then I got a nosebleed, and then we stayed for another week. And in the end, I actually got an extra suitcase, and so did she. So many things happened in those 4 weeks. And like I said, there was also structure because we wanted to see the recordings of Chicago PD and Chicago Fire. Chicago Med we saw only once. But what was happening out there? So we got up and we did our things. I was up and about during the daytime and I was asleep at night. Okay, not sure. Yeah, and staying got us to see Jason, which was the one actor we hadn't seen. So we had seen a lot of actors being, we had taken pictures. I think the first one was Paddy, and he was a sweetheart. He was adorable. In the first week we got to see him. So that was so amazing. And we got to see all of these various places of Chicago. And the funny thing is, I got to watch Primal Fear with, what's his name again, Richard Gere. And hey, that's Chicago. And ER also is airing here and which also is, of course, in Chicago. And it keeps bringing me back to Chicago. And I know that, like me, Joe really wants to go back to Chicago too. But normally I go to the US when there's a lot of sunshine. I mean, I don't need to go to the US to experience rain and snow, because that's not going to make me do things anymore. It doesn't give me any energy. I need the sunlight. But having said so, I am going to see Joe in London. And well, that means basically the same weather as over here, which is grey, rain, maybe snow. She's got a lot of snow. We have a little snow over here right now. But it has a timeline. It has a timeline. So basically, 2 years ago, almost, my mom passed away. A year ago, the house got sold. Joe lost her mom, brought me back to everything which happened with my mom. And I think I've come to a point now that I can say, okay, this is over and gone. And now it's time to move on and go to the next level. And Joe, I guess you're a big part of this. So it's nice that you were here. By the way, since this is live, I'm going to read her comment. I think it would have been too cold to go. It's freezing here, but Chicago, oh my God, well, that's what we're talking about. And realizing that right now, I did go outside yesterday, but only to be walking. I canceled the physical therapist because it was so slippery everywhere. Well, tomorrow it's going to be defrosting, so temperature is going to go up above 0, that's Celsius. So then I don't need to worry about it anymore. But here's the thing, and that's what she's saying. She says, this is my first Christmas without my mom. Well, it's going to be my second Christmas without mom. And my first last year, I was under the weather. I couldn't go out. This was hurting pretty badly. No, it was not COVID. It's something I have every year when it gets colder. And I've, since my mom passed away, actually before it, there was already a little bit of shift between me and my sister. And I dearly love my sister. Just let's get one thing straight. I totally adore her. But I'm not seeing her anymore. And as far as my brother is concerned, he's got his own family, his own life. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be alone during Christmas. And so I've always wanted to go and see London during Christmas, with all the light and the sills out there. And well, here we are. And she and her daughter and I, we are going to spend Christmas together. And, that way we can support one another. Because it's hard to have to deal not having your family around. Having the cleanup challenge is something to look forward to. It's an emotional thing. It's not just a physical thing. It's not like a material thing. It's also an emotional thing. I guess that's the best way to describe it. And like I said, I need to move on, take things to another level. And yeah. A lot of things recently have happened. Also with me taking things to the next level when it comes to music and photography. But this whole Chicago thing, yeah, I could, just as easily call it the Chicago challenge instead of the cleanup challenge. But I think the cleanup challenge is more appropriate, although it's been inspired by Chicago. And the next few weeks, you're going to hear a lot more about Chicago, because the episodes that we actually took pictures of, they have been aired, so we can talk about it more easily. And being together again, we can just, sort things out. And Joe and I, we have a lot of fun together. we are good together. Yeah, so she said, we will be together and remember our loved ones. And give you good old-fashioned English Christmas. It's going to be a first for me to experience a good old-fashioned English Christmas. We are going to go to St. Paul's Cathedral and have a Christmas mass. Well, midnight singer, the late singer of Crimson Glory, when I realized he had some work left when he had gone solo, he had all these Christmas songs, which I'm going to post in the next few days. I actually have a page dedicated to him. And one of those is the Christmas Mass. And yeah, it's going to be cool to actually experience it. You know, during COVID, I had these virtual pages. And one of the things I really want to do is get people from overseas to Europe, get them on a coach, possibly 2 coaches, and I mean the buses, pick them up on the various airports, whether it's Belgium or Germany or the Netherlands, and then show them around what's out there actually here in Europe. And maybe I'll be going to Christmas markets, I don't know. Could be. If I do, I have to do it this week probably. So it's a good thing that the freezing is going to stop. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I've been planning for so long, and now finally things are moving again. And I'm not sure exactly what caused it. It was probably the combination of going away again and not wanting to be in the clutter, speaking up, being vulnerable, sharing my story with Evan Carmichael and all the others who were there. And also, of course, the whole Black Friday thing. I can't buy things if I don't use it. I mean, my accountant, just imagine what she's going to say to me. So, in order to test it, I have to go live. And like I said, I did revert back to my normal routine because it was the only thing I could get to work. But here I am. And hopefully you have something too that you really want to do, you really want to accomplish, but because of clutter in your mind, maybe you being surrounded by clutter, it just hasn't happened. And I mentioned it briefly. And with we, I mean Joe and I, we have lost our moms. I lost my father like a decade ago. And the whole thing with not having a basis to return to, it has impacted me so much that actually everything has gone haywire. And now it's time to move on, go on again. I think I've repeated myself like a dozen times now. So here I am, and I want to know what's been bugging you. What has kept you from moving on, from going forward? Let me know so I can discuss it in the challenge. If correct, the challenge will start on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know, maybe an extra day. On Friday, I will be on the train towards Joe, so that's good. So that's when the challenge will be over and done with. I will still be able to go live because what I have been doing in those last, certainly 8 years, is I've collected all this stuff that I can throw in my backpack and take with me wherever I go. And Jo knows what I'm talking about. She could see me. I'm used to wearing 2 backpacks actually from the time when I was only using crutches. So for a year now I haven't had to walk with crutches anymore. But I do have extra braces and those are now in my second backpack. But the cool thing is wherever I go, I can basically go live if I know how to make it work. And DJI Mic, that was easy. Remember those 2 transmitter, one receiver. One was stuck on Joe, one was stuck on me. And now it's just time to make it work a little bit better, and to also ask you, what is it you want to do, what you want to achieve? Let's not wait for the new year, but now it's time to go back down memory lane, because that's what Christmas usually, well, it's not that it's what Christmas means, but it's the effect that Christmas time has on us. Seeing people again, sending cards to other people. Then, of course, New Year's Eve, and we're going to look back on what we've done and accomplished, and also what we've not done and accomplished in the last year. So let me know, what is it what you want to achieve? So there's one last thing, and I need to sneeze. Yeah, I'm there again. Okay, Joe says that I remind her of crew member on set of CPD with my equipment. Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of people, and it was so amazing. And, you know, one of the things, what I want to do when it comes to storytelling, thank you, is I want to put people in the limelight. So there was this cleanup crew, cleanup challenge, cleanup crew, sort of coincidence or not, I don't know. They literally cleaned up after them having filmed on scene. So you need to, in order to imagine what's going on, they put all these papers on the trees, telling people, okay, this street needs to be empty so we can park all our trucks. We're talking about dozens and dozens of trucks, whether it's for electricity or props or sound or light, bathrooms, food, you name it. And these guys, they clean up afterwards when they're all gone. And there was this one guy, and I really need to look up his name. And when we told him we were going to see Tom Jones, yeah, I know I'm going from one topic to another. And there's a whole story behind Tom Jones too. And I actually recorded a video about it. And I think that either I haven't posted or there was crappy sound involved. And maybe I do have it, and then I'm going to make sure that it's posted. But when we told him about it, they started singing Delilah. And when we saw them the next day again, they stopped their truck and they started singing again. It was so immensely funny. It was so immensely funny. So I just want to say, if you have something you want to change, you are so over and done with the clutter in your mind or around you, and you want to go to the next level because you got stuck, then join me. You can already subscribe. Like I said, there's going to be a link in the bio. And let's see where we are going. Leave a comment and let me know.